The scariest realization isn't that you're in danger, it's that you were led into it on purpose. These four people thought they were safe until a small detail revealed a horrifying truth. They were being watched, and they were never really alone.
Fear is a product of the unknown. But what happens when the unknown has been living with you all along? Let's investigate.
Our first story begins with Leo, a 20-year-old history major renting a room in a ridiculously cheap, century-old house. The landlord, a distant relative, gave him a deal he couldn't refuse. The only catch was the quiet. The house groaned. It settled. That's what he told himself. But every night, around 3 a.m., he'd hear it. Not a groan, but a soft, rhythmic shuffle, directly above his head. From the attic. He'd dismiss it. Raccoons, maybe. The old house breathing. But then, small things started to happen. A textbook he'd left on his desk would be on his nightstand. His favorite pen would vanish, only to reappear in the kitchen days later.
This is the first stage, the mind trying to rationalize the impossible. It's just forgetfulness, we tell ourselves, but it's not.
The turning point was the draft. A cold, persistent draft that seemed to originate from inside his closet. It smelled faintly of stale air and something else. Something organic and unpleasant. He pushed aside his clothes, feeling along the back wall. The wood was old, warped. But in the top corner, his fingers brushed against something else. A rectangular outline. A seam that wasn't supposed to be there. With a grunt, he pried it open. It wasn't a panel. It was a small, crude door. A wave of foul, warm air washed over him. He pointed his phone's flashlight into the darkness beyond.
Leo wasn't hearing a ghost in the attic. He was hearing his roommate, the one he never knew he had.
His blood ran cold. The shuffling wasn't raccoons. It was a person living in the walls. But the worst part wasn't the mattress or the trash. In a small, neat pile in the corner was a collection. Trophies. His trophies. As he backed away, his light caught something else on the floor, just inside the crawl space. A cigarette butt. He reached out and touched it. It was still warm.
Sometimes the threat isn't breaking in. It's already there. Our next case involves a woman named Clara, who found comfort in her garden's isolation. A comfort that would prove to be a dangerous illusion.
Clara lived alone in a house bordered by dense woods. Her pride and joy was her garden, specifically her award-winning roses. She spent every day tending to them. They were her sanctuary. One morning she noticed something odd. A few of her prized bushes had been perfectly pruned and dead-headed overnight. She hadn't done it. She assumed it was a kind neighbor, though she hadn't spoken to one in years. It kept happening. Every few nights, a different section of the garden would be meticulously cared for. Weeds pulled, soil tilled. She never saw anyone. The only evidence was the faint impression of a single boot print in the mulch, always gone by the next day.
A secret admirer? A helpful spirit? The human mind scrambles for a benign explanation before it will accept a malevolent one.
Disturbed, Clara bought a cheap trail camera and strapped it to a tree overlooking the garden. She wanted to know who her phantom gardener was. That night, she barely slept, listening to every creak of the house. The next morning, she retrieved the memory card. Her hands trembled as she inserted it into her laptop. The video files began to populate. Most were just clips of wind-rustling leaves. Then, one file, time-stamped 2:47 a.m., showed something else. The footage was grainy, rendered in an eerie infrared black and white. A figure emerged from the woods. It was tall, impossibly thin, and moved with a slow, deliberate grace. It knelt by the roses, its long fingers tending to the plants with loving care. For 10 minutes, it worked on the garden. It never looked at the camera. It only ever looked in one direction, towards the dark windows of Clara's house, specifically her bedroom window.
The garden was never the objective. It was the justification, the excuse to be close, to watch, to wait.
A new sickening fear took hold. Clara grabbed a trowel and ran outside. She dug frantically at the base of her most prized rosebush, the one the figure had spent the most time at. Her fingers hit something hard and rough. She pulled it from the earth. It was a small, crudely made doll, fashioned from twigs and twine. A disturbing effigy. And woven into it, wrapped tightly around its neck, was a long lock of her own silver hair, taken from the hairbrush she kept on her windowsill.
Some environments feel inherently unsafe. Others, we are told, are sanctuaries. Our third case takes place in one such place, a university library.
Mark was a PhD student, which meant the university library was his second home. He preferred to work late after the undergraduates had left, when the only sound was the hum of the fluorescent lights and the turning of pages. He'd always felt a prickling on his neck in the deep stacks, a sense of being observed. He chalked it up to exhaustion and the unsettling silence of the cavernous building, a building that was supposed to be empty. One night, while staring at his blank computer screen, he saw it. In the dark reflection, a figure, standing silently at the far end of the aisle behind him. Tall, gaunt, perfectly still.
Pareidolia. The brain's tendency to see patterns in random data. A trick of the light. Until the trick starts leaving you notes.
He whipped his head around. Nothing. The aisle was empty. His heart hammered in his chest. He told himself it was a reflection of a poster, a coat rack, anything. He packed his things and left in a hurry. The next night, he forced himself to return. He pulled a book he needed from the shelf, and a small folded piece of paper fell out. He opened it. In shaky, spidery handwriting, it read, "Your premise is flawed. You're overlooking the socio-economic factors." It was about his thesis. A cold dread settled in his stomach. It had to be another student, a prank. But the notes kept appearing, tucked in his books, left on his keyboard, and they grew more personal.
The watcher's focus had shifted. The library wasn't just a place of observation. It had become a base of operations.
The final straw came a week later. He was researching a 19th century manuscript, a book so rare it had to be handled with gloves. As he turned a brittle page, he saw it, tucked inside. It was a photograph, a Polaroid, still smelling faintly of chemicals. It was a picture of him, asleep in his own dorm room bed, taken from the foot of his bed, in the dark. On the back, one word was scrawled, "Finally."
Our final story is about the sounds we ignore. The ambient noise of our daily lives. For Maya, that noise was hiding a conversation.
Maya was a creature of habit. Every night, she took the 11:48 p.m. train home. It was always the same. The screech of the brakes, the flickering lights, and the empty seats. She was always the only passenger in her car. One night, bored, she was messing with her phone and accidentally started a voice memo recording. It ran for the entire 20-minute journey. She didn't realize until the next day when she went to delete it. Out of curiosity, she put in her earbuds and hit play. At first, it was just what she expected. The loud, metallic rumble of the train, the automated voice announcing stations, standard city noise.
The human ear is designed to filter, to focus on what's important. A microphone is not so discerning. It hears everything.
She turned the volume up, trying to hear past the train's noise. And then she heard it, faint, but clear. A whisper, right next to the phone's microphone. It was a dry, sibilant voice. The voice whispered, "Black boots, looks tired tonight." She froze. She had been wearing black boots. She had been exhausted. Then another deeper voice whispered back, "Always reads that same book." She ripped the earbuds out, her heart pounding. It couldn't be real. It was audio artifacting, the train noise sounding like words. She had to be sure.
This is the moment of truth, when you must choose between a comfortable lie and a reality that could shatter you.
That night, on the same empty train car, she deliberately started a recording. She placed the phone on the seat beside her, pretending to text. She sat perfectly still for the entire ride, her skin crawling. She waited until she was home, door locked, before listening. She fast-forwarded to the middle of the recording. The train noise was there, and beneath it, the whispers. The first voice whispered, "She's doing it again." The second voice replied, its tone colder, angrier. "She knows. She's listening. Stupid girl."
The horror wasn't just that she was being watched. It was that the watchers were invisible, all around her, and they were angry.
She didn't take the train for a week. She stayed home from work. She felt like she was going insane. One night, sitting in the suffocating silence of her apartment, she had a terrifying thought. She opened the voice memo app one last time. She hit record. She recorded 30 seconds of the dead silence in her living room. Then, with a trembling finger, she pressed play and turned the volume all the way up. First, nothing but the faint hum of the refrigerator. And then, a whisper, right next to the microphone. So close, so clear, it sounded like it was in her ear. A single chilling sentence. "Did you think we wouldn't follow you home?"